All right, so now we're going to talk a little bit about the competitive gaming audience. Now, the point was just made that if you think about all the pros that we just talked to, there's only several thousand in North America across the top-tier titles. But of all the people that play all the games, and they have outreach to competitive audiences, anyone who plays a multiplayer game generally is going to be that target. And there's absolutely millions upon millions of those. Even had a mobile team actually just say something, and the truth is mobile is a huge category. We're trying to blow out hardcore competitive titles. But the idea is that you have this audience of people that are highly accessible, highly engaging, digital first, very millennially driven. How can we talk to them? How do we reach out to them? So, like I had before, would love for you to introduce yourself, a little about who you are, what you do, and let's go down the line.
Sure, I'm Hunter Leigh. I work at Yahoo Esports. I joined Yahoo about 7 months ago, running kind of strategy, partnerships, developer relations. Before that, I was at Riot Games, running the NALCS.
And I'm Candace Brenner. I'm the Vice President of Marketing for Jinx. For those of you who are not familiar, Jinx has been around since 1999 and doing most known for video game apparel. We most recently launched our endemic brands Jinx and Jinx Pro, and that being basically the first endemic video game lifestyle brand. And with Jinx Pro, we're really solidifying and forging a path in being the gold standard for competitive sports and esports apparel.
I'm Walter Wang. I'm at HTC. I started and run the esports division at HTC, and we sponsor the teams such as Team Liquid, Cloud9, TSM.
Awesome. So we do have a good range of people here as well. Now, this audience is obviously very rabid, very content-driven. Actually, if you could start going down the line again, tell us what about this audience made you so excited? What was that one thing that hit that light bulb in your head and said, I need to be working in this space?
Yeah, I mean, I think for me, I am that audience. I'm not a millennial. I'm a little older than the average millennial,
like
but
Gen X, half millennial.
Yeah, exactly.
You would be
so
in that same
I'm
boat.
35, like I'm right on the edge. But you know, I've been a gamer all my life. I'm obsessed with League of Legends. You know, I got rid of my TV 10 years ago, and I don't pay for cable, and I ad block the internet because I don't like ads. Like I am. So
you're like
this
everything
audience.
that marketers hate is the ad blockers and cord cutters.
Right, and I'm out now trying to sell things to myself, knowing that I don't consume ads and like have a hard time.
I'm gonna give you
reject all of that.
We're gonna let the audience give you a lot of shit for that in questions.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I mean, I think so why do I like? I am this audience. I love this audience. In many ways, esports is sort of a dream come true. The idea that I can make money doing this thing that I would be doing anyway.
Got it.
So Jinx, like I said, has been around since 1999, and really, our co-founders are hardcore gamers. Nobody works at our company unless you play games. They have even created a couple of games here and again, and there's one out there in the hallway that we made for fun too. But really, it's about being a part of the video game culture and really loving the community and wanting to be a part of the community. And you mentioned ad blocker, but that's really the point of difference when you start talking about how to be in the space. It's not about picking up that menu of options and kind of splattering your stuff all out across the internet. It's really about understanding the nuance of the gaming communities, including competitive gaming and esports, and understanding how that's even different than the general video game landscape community and being a part of it. But it's really about being authentic.
Okay, because we got like 5 or 6 times I was mentioned in the last panel, so I'm going to keep a track of how many times we say authentic.
Yeah, it's now the drinking game, just for those of you.
Has that gotten across yet? You have to be authentic?
Yeah.
Well, actually, maybe that's one thing that we can talk about in a little bit is what does that actually mean in terms of this audience? And maybe let's see the specific details. It's not something we can't measure. It's something that a lot of us don't understand. Sometimes I don't understand certain concepts in certain esports titles that I'm not super into, while others I completely get and have to explain to everybody. So yeah, we can try to actually put some more color to that word as well. Walter?
Yeah, much like Hunter, I am the audience. I play League of Legends, play CS:GO, watch esports streams, and so I consume esports, and that's what I love. And then second of all, as a VR company, we make games, so it just makes sense.
All right, so we talked about again how each of us fit in this space.
Yeah.
Now, question for you at Jinx.
Yeah.
You guys are always doing gaming apparel, like just around the lifestyle of a gamer.
Yep.
I'll admit I actually had one of your bumper stickers when I was in college. And I was very proud to have it because at that point I wanted to showcase to everybody, hey, this is who I am, this is what I do,
Yeah.
and I want to find people like me.
Exactly.
But we're now getting to the point where a lot of us are like me. Over 100 million people supposedly play League of Legends.
Right.
And Counter-Strike hits tens of millions of people. Every major esports title is just hitting 7-figure and up numbers. It's pretty crazy. Is that really because these games are moving into that competitive direction why you got into esports apparel?
No, I think it was just a natural evolution, having been in the video game space for a really long time and being fans ourselves of a lot of the esports teams and whatnot. It was a natural evolution for us to take an opportunity to say what is missing right now. And seeing teams that were competing at such a level and not necessarily having the comfort and the fit and the look that would really, broadcast well, but, elite players don't need to have distractions while they're playing. They need to be focused on winning. So we work with players to be able to make sure that the comfort is right, the feel is right, the look is right, so that they're able to compete at that level. But even in we're talking about the top, the middle, and the bottom of the pyramid. It's the middle of the pyramid where we have folks that are maybe up and coming, and Jinx Pro is a perfect fit for somebody. Maybe they don't have an official team name, jersey, etc., but we can fill that slot with kind of high quality jerseys and goods. And then just as we've had many analogs today about traditional athletic sports, but there's also that aspirational element of fans and spectators and players who just want to participate in esports from that perspective and carry wear the jersey of their favorite team or their favorite player, etc.
And what kind of apparel do you have? Is it jerseys? Are they hoodies? Are they t-shirts?
I'm so glad you asked. No.
I mean, I'll take the commission right now.
No, for Jinx Pro, there are, there's jerseys, there's t-shirts, there's hoodies, there's all kinds of hats, there's compression gear, there's, joggers, all kinds of things.
And you have two teams as well?
Yeah, Team Liquid and Echo Fox.
All right, Team Liquid's getting a lot of love, Steve. I also get my commission later too.
Yeah, where's Steve?
So with that, how did they play into your space? Why did you work with them?
Team Liquid obviously.
Not it. That was
Sorry?
Not me.
Order up.
Well, no, that was me leaked out just in case I dropped another F-bomb or something.
Oh, yeah, okay, cool. No, we are working with teams that really are wanting to work with us, and we're taking on just a couple at a time to make sure that we really service those teams well. We've had an opportunity to work, like I said, with Team Liquid and with Echo Fox, but we work in depth with them, creating official jerseys, creating apparel that really connects to them. So we don't take on everyone because we want to make sure that we get it right and service them in a way that feels good.
And have you seen a lot of improvement from the non-esports apparel because you have these new esports content and apparel and sponsorships?
I think we get a lot of feedback from fans and players, regardless of whether it's esports specific or not, frankly, but we do take all of that into consideration, and having the right cut and the right fabrics and all of that is super important, but we do get a lot of feedback across the board.
Got it. So, another question for you at Yahoo Esports. Who do you guys really like to target with your content? Because you have Yahoo Sports and you have Yahoo Esports.
Yes. When I look at our demographics, we are
how do they compare actually?
Yeah. Whereas esports is much younger. Like the average sports fan is about 35. The average esports fan is about 23. It's sort of TV versus PC. And I think, esports is overwhelmingly male. You saw that earlier. Sports is certainly fairly male, but esports is kind of overwhelmingly male. The demo is, 18 to 34-year-old men, which is great, except it comes with a whole host of challenges that make it even more different from sports. I ad block. I'm certainly not alone. Ad block rates in esports are absurdly high. Think of the highest number you probably heard any website tell you about their ad block rate. Double it, and you're getting in the range of the average esports ad block rate.
Well, this audience is very smart. These are tech-savvy people. They grew up with PCs, computers, tablets, phones, consoles, handheld gaming, everything, right?
Sure, yeah. and they don't like advertising, which is why authenticity's come up a lot, but it's for a reason, because you can't serve ads to this audience. You can't, we'll sell you an audience segment if you want that. That's great. You can advertise on Yahoo. We'll totally take it. If you want to connect with sort of the core esports audience, you need to do it through some kind of integrated content and probably get yourself on Reddit. And of the two things, it's been a full day and there's been a lot of stuff going on. I don't think Adblock or Reddit has come up yet, and they're probably two of the most fundamental concepts about getting into this space that I think non-endemic brands need to understand. And I think, for you guys can probably speak to this, Walter, better, the difference between hitting on Reddit and not hitting on Reddit to an advertising campaign, and I'll put that in quotes only because it's not really a traditional advertising campaign, is dramatic, and authenticity is a key part of landing all of that.
Yeah, I think each game has its own community, and you have to speak to it, right? And all of them, most of them, go on Reddit.
Well, it's kind of like traditional sports.
Yeah, exactly.
You're not going to talk to a football fan the way you talk to a golf fan.
Exactly, and you have to understand that. And so, if you look at League of Legends, so League of Legends subreddit is huge. And when we run a piece of content, say Breaking Point, a movie documentary that we did with Team Liquid, because it made it to Reddit, we have over 500,000 views on YouTube. It's a 2-hour movie, and the average duration is like 20 minutes per viewer. And so, if we don't hit Reddit, sometimes the content just not worth making.
Yeah.
Is that a way you could actually almost consider that a metric? Has it been hit on Reddit?
Well, I think that metric sort of explains itself, because when you look at your viewership numbers after a piece of content, night and day for the most part whether something has hit Reddit or not. The platforms in this space are tremendously well established and incredibly sort of passively powerful, if that makes sense. Reddit isn't actively massaging esports in one direction or another, it's just kind of out there. YouTube is a giant website that's doing a lot of different things. Esports is a piece of it. Even Twitch, which is very, very gaming focused, esports is sort of a slice of them. They're platforms that are allowing content to come onto them. Working with them and getting real presence on them is the difference between making a piece of content that nobody sees and making a piece of content that everybody sees. And the kind of working with them, finding a company that you work with, working with Team Liquid to get Breaking Point sort of acceptable and authentic enough within the community, that's sort of the secret sauce of all of this.
You have to tap into what the heartbeat is, right? If you're talking about creating really compelling content or campaigns, if you will, or just a connection, it's really about tapping into the emotional aspect of whatever it is and being able to kind of connect with that community versus just casting it, broadcasting it out. And at that point, you're really just kind of throwing stuff at a wall that's probably not going to get seen. But it's really about that collaborative conversation and pulling out of that particular brand what we think will resonate to that audience.
I like that. So, Walter, one thing that I really liked what HTC did was some of the content that was around creation. So, if I remember correctly, you had someone who designs skins for Counter-Strike. Because in Counter-Strike, you can actually buy a paint job for your gun, basically. It's really cool, and I have about a ton of them, and some of them are actually worth several $100s. It's ridiculous, and trust me that it makes sense. But there are artists in the community that actually create these and sell these and make a revenue from them. And can you tell us a little about the video that you did of one such personality?
Yeah, we've done actually a couple of videos. So we make VR, the Vive, and there's a software application called Tilt Brush made by Google, and you could basically draw 3D models, things like that. And we actually hired a couple of artists, such as we did one with FFSOD. And Nips, we had them make League of Legends characters.
These are endemic to the esports space. These are personalities that are artists already there, right?
Exactly, and we had them, make League of Legends models, heroes, champions. One time we shot a video with TSM. We had them play Pictionary in Vive in VR, and so you could see like Hanser, Bjergsen, Wall Turtle, They're really bad at drawing. They're really bad.
But actually, the artists that you worked with, how easy was that for them to move to VR, and how was the content received?
It was incredibly well received. I mean, it's really easy to actually move to VR in terms of the sculpting and art, but in terms of how well it was received, obviously it made Reddit. It went sort of viral in the esports community, and we have hundreds of thousands of views on these videos, so it did very well.
And retention was near like above 50-60%?
Yeah, exactly. And so we hate using this word so much, but remaining authentic to your community is so important. If you don't show them a piece of content that they like watching, then there is no point in making it, right?
So we talked about some of the good ways to do this. Can we talk about some of the bad ways? We talk about, hey, here's a piece of content that maybe a brand should name nameless or something you've experienced before that you're kind of willing to fall in the sword a little bit and say, this didn't work out so well.
I think one of the big pitfalls to stay away from is just being a logo. Logo on a stream, a logo on a jersey, a logo anywhere.
Yeah.
You have to do something with it. I mean, you have to do something that will reach your audience.
Yeah.
Being a logo is just not enough in this type of market.
Yeah, and I think too when we talk about, you're out in space and you're putting your brand out there, you're trying to, like I said, create a connection with that community. If the first interaction with your brand that they have is kind of like a buy now, it just hits a weird sour note. It needs to be more about the experience, that emotional kind of relationship that you're willing to put out there, particularly with the gaming audience, and even more so with the esports audience and competitive gaming audience. They can sniff that out like that. So anytime you put content out in the world, really think of it from a collaborative perspective and understand your audience really deeply, so that you're not putting out silly stuff like that where it just comes off so e-commercey or so focused on that end result.
I'm getting the Q&A side.
Oh, hi.
So I don't mean to cut you off. I apologize. All right, we only have a few minutes left, so you guys have some really fantastic experts in this space who understand this audience perfectly. If you have any questions, now's the time. Please, let's at least get one or two. If you're curious about something. Otherwise, I can just keep talking. Go ahead.
Sorry. So in esports, the audiences are generally really diverse. They're global. They have different needs from each game. Some people are in it for art. Some people are in it for the gameplay. Some people are in it for the competition. So when you're trying to reach that audience, how do you prioritize your audiences, knowing that by pleasing this side, this other side could get upset that they're not being serviced? So how do you?
I think that's a terrific question, and I think part of it truly is there is something that is unifying them. They're a community because there is some little nucleus, there is some little molecule that's why they're together. Everybody who's been a part of video games has that moment in time. Tell me your favorite game story. It's the one where you get the catch in your throat when you're talking about it, or the one that, man, you start talking about it, you get really excited, you're kind of breathing a little bit faster. That's the moment you need to tap into. Don't worry about creating it for a woman and for a man and for this and for that. Yes, the culture and the demographic is quite diverse. You need to tap into what is bringing them together and spotlight that, feature that, create content around that, so you unite people. And that's why people play games together, particularly when this is their life.
Well, it's a passion-driven community. At that point, exactly as you said, find that core thing that brings them together. I wouldn't worry about it. It's also, you can try a little bit.
Yes.
Ask the right people. Ask your audience what they would like to see. Oftentimes this audience is very happy to tell you what you do right and wrong.
Yeah.
They're really good at that.
Reference Reddit.
More so wrong.
Well, hopefully I can mention Reddit more than authenticity at this point. Any questions?
Right here.
Yeah.
Yes, Travis. Question for you.
Wait, no, we got the mic. By the way, in case you're wondering, we're all good. We're all clear. No problems. We'll be fine.
Except for the feedback.
Yeah.
Except for the feedback.
So there's been, I don't know if it's working. There's been so much conversation today about authenticity and about, in this panel, ad block, and all these really kind of challenging ways that a brand has to figure out how to handle this stuff. Is there any chance that non-endemics should just throw their hands up in the air and say, esports is too complicated, there's all these established areas out there already, I should just not even worry about this?
No, I think the reasons to get in are the same reasons that everybody else is getting in. This audience is young, they have disposable income, this is one of the most desirable demos, and they're so hard to reach that if you can get in and be successful in the space, there's a tremendous opportunity there. So it's challenging, I think you have to approach it differently, but the benefits really are pretty huge.
Yeah, and there's no silver bullet. I think sometimes when we are, we have these panels and there's experts and the whatever, Like everybody's looking for the one-size-fits-all solution. There is not one. You're going to have to work hard. You're going to have to go to the events. You're going to have to watch the streams. You're going to have to, stay up to date with what's going on. You're going to have to talk to players, because that's how you're going to create authentic content. You're not going to fake it. You're not going to go, oh, hand me that menu of ad options and I'm going to put something together off the shelf that's going to work.
Would you say there's a lot of filtering and a lot of education?
I definitely think so. I think if you want to participate, you've got to educate yourself about what's happening and really get in there.
Like, I know nothing about golf, but everyone always just, like, I have a couple of friends who do, and it's like, if I'm going to engage with them, I have to learn that, right?
Right.
Would esports be any different, because there's how many different games to play?
Right. I definitely think you have to get in there and educate yourself.